Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephen Howson, and this is 5 things that we learned watching Manchester United, capitulate against Liverpool at Old Trafford. In at number 1 then, it was a game to forget. On one hand, Liverpool never came to Old Trafford as champions, which I consider a massive personal victory. But even though it seemed like United was playing for nothing except coming second, it still felt like it felt like a game that shouldn't have been United and Liverpool. United and Liverpool has never meant nothing, but this really meant nothing. And I guess it probably meant something for Liverpool. They do now have a real chance of qualifying for the Champions League following beating United. They are the outsiders. They've still got to overtake Chelsea and they've got to overtake Leicester, or at least one of them. But for United, again, the difference between coming second and coming third is irrelevant. What matters is that we're in the Champions League for next year, because there's literally no extra place for finishing one place higher, and winning the Europa League, because that is a trophy that we've won. It just felt like the performance came from 11 players who are playing like they don't want to be injured for a final. It felt like players going through the motions, playing against a Liverpool team that actually, if they've got contracts similar to United, will be on for like a 25% wage decrease if they don't qualify for the Champions League. So you can understand the desire from the players. In the most likely case, that game gets pushed to the background amidst the talk of the protest. It gets pushed to the background amidst everything that's been going on with qualification for the Champions League. And it probably matters not a bit to Manchester United in the long run and in the course of the history books. It was Liverpool's first Premier League win at Old Trafford since 2014, and now only West Brom and Newcastle have conceded more home league goals than United have this season. It was just a bad day at the office, really, wasn't it? Number 2, MCFRED were abysmal. Now, I think it's clear that United aren't going to be on the same level. Roy Keane said this. Can you see someone like Fred being part of a team that wins you back-to-back titles? And I really mulled over that line, because knowing Roy Keane, I think Roy Keane goes into every scenario that he's analysing going, is this a player that can win back-to-back titles? And you can argue the merits, the right and the wrongs of that, but ultimately I think that is the standard that should exist at Manchester United. Is this a player that can win back-to-back titles? And if he's not, why are we signing him? Or if he's not, and you go, well, he's the backup to the lad that can. You go, okay, cool. But that should be the benchmark, shouldn't it? I don't think we should be lowering our standards. I think you can lower your expectations, but you shouldn't lower your standards. The standard should always be to achieve. Now, McTominay and Fred, for me, when they become squad players, United are in a good place. The problem is that they're first choice. Now, they both have pros, they both have cons, but they're simply not the required level for United to be able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Liverpool and City, and let's be honest, probably Chelsea next season as well. Fred in particular, I think you could call that one of the worst performances he's put in a United shirt, and McTominay was bad, but he's been bad now for a couple of weeks. Looking like he either needs a mental break or a physical break, but he just doesn't look at the races at all. All the transfer talk at the moment seems to be about a centre-half or Jadon Sancho. But if United don't sign a number 6, we're going to keep moving Marcus over to the right to accommodate Paul Pogba, should he stay. And it's dysfunctional. It's worked against some other teams because we're just far better than them. But when it comes to the big matches, where seasons and titles are won and lost, you have to be able to navigate those games. A lot of fans aren't happy with us hitting teams on the counter-attack, and I don't know why. Winning is winning. There's no extra style points for doing it with more possession. I just don't see us doing any sort of significant run at a title while you're still having to play 2 players to do one person's job. Number 3, Maguire was missed. So it's the first time that we've conceded 4 goals or more since October when we got smacked up by Tottenham. The organisation was missing. The intensity was missing. The crosses are obviously going to be a threat coming from Liverpool, but United's defence seemed to just revert back years and years. And I think it's been a note of like how we've almost just mostly forgotten the defensive woes and the just plain stupid sort of defensive errors that we've seen at United over the last couple of years. Start of this season, Maguire was a little off the pace, including that game against Spurs. I think his head was still in Greece for a few weeks, possibly even a month or more, maybe 6 weeks. But since then, I thought Harry Maguire had gone on a real solid run of form, and sometimes it's one of those positions where, unless you're making blockbuster tackles and saves and big bullet headers and stuff like that, you don't really notice what your centre-halves are doing until they miss. And then when they miss and you see the replacement coming, you go, oh, okay, yeah. And I think that's been the case a little bit with Harry Maguire. I think he's one of the most under-recognised players in the Premier League this season. I think he's been brilliant for Manchester United. And I worry for us, I worry for our form going into the cup final if we're going to continue to play the way we have done this week. You've also got to maybe factor in a little bit of how many games we've played this week to a certain extent. But either way, it's just not good enough, is it? And I think we really missed him. Number 4, on a positive note, Fernandes broke a record. When there's misery, we always have Bruno Fernandes. Until Bruno, I was never happy. And he does make things better. Bruno's opener was a milestone goal. That was his 26th Premier League goal, which is the highest tally of any midfielder after 50 games in history. He's also now scored 28 goals in all competitions this season, which is the most by any Premier League midfielder in history, surpassing the frankly ridiculous records set by Yaya Toure and Frank Lampard with 27 and 24, or 24 and 27. His influence, I think, faded after the goal. And in fact, United faded after the goal. I almost think United got a goal up and went, yeah, sound, job done. Which obviously was not the case. He's now got 2 goals against Liverpool, 2 against Roma, a goal against Leicester, 1 against Leipzig, and a goal against City, and a goal against PSG. People suggesting that Bruno Fernandes doesn't turn up and doesn't have any impact in a big game, it's just provably wrong. So well done to Bruno. What a phenomenal player he is. And I actually think if you could get like a world-class number 6, whether that be a Neves or a Niguez or someone more combative like an Ndidi or someone in that sort of mould, depending on what Ollie sees or wants, I think you could have a real world-class trio. Because Pogba's world-class if he wants to stay. Bruno's world-class. And obviously, you bring in another world-class midfielder. That midfield should go toe-to-toe with any in Europe, and ultimately, that's what United should be doing. And then you should probably have someone who's mint as a backup to rotate in with those 3, or cover up when there's injuries, or give somebody a night off. That's what someone who actually give a shit about the squad would do if there was an owner. But we have the Glazers. Number 5. Next week's vital. Although United's 2 final Premier League games don't really have any Premier League implications except probably confirming our second place. After a good campaign, I don't think Solskjaer would want his players to take their foot off the gas and relax and sort of stumble over the line. I don't think that would be beneficial for anybody. The cup final on the horizon, and from what I'm hearing, it's going to be without Maguire. United can't afford to be low on confidence. We have to go into that game strutting our stuff and take the game to Villarreal. Fulham in front of fans and Wolves away in front of fans are going to be interesting opportunities to see how the players react to having fans back in the stadium, and an opportunity for us to finish on a bit of a high after one of the weirdest seasons on record in football. 3 defeats in 8 days is not great. The Premier League scheduling has a lot to do with that, I think. But now it's time for United to bounce back. And just before I wrap it up, I just wanted to say, if you are interested in getting one of the green and gold Stretford Paddock jerseys that we're going to be wearing next season, there is a pre-order on at the moment. They are limited to 1,000, and as we stand, we are at the 700-ish mark. So if you want one, you're probably going to have a few more days at best to get your hands on one. After that, the pre-order will stop. I mean, the pre-order might stop the pre-order stops as soon as we hit 1,000, but it's going to run until the end of May, if we don't hit that 1,000, which, looking how it's gone, considering we only released them on Monday, I think there's a good chance that they're probably going to have gone. So if you want to get your hands on one, link in the description for them. This is it. We will not be selling any more of these. So if you want to get your hands on one, go check them out. The link is in the description, and see if you can be one of the first and only people to go and get one of these green and gold ones. Because I don't think United will be releasing a green and gold one anytime soon, if you have to ask me. Cheers for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Laters.